Hi, I'm Shade, and today we're doing something a little different. I figured instead of lecturing at you for 10 minutes while I show you pictures of what I'm talking about, I thought I'd just play the game and explain as I go. So I hope you're ready, because we're going on an adventure. Come with me as we create a randomized character, join the companions, and dive into the history and lore of the places we go. In the spirit of self-hatred, each adventure we do will feature a new and unique character that has been randomly generated. This is to provide a sense of pride and accomplishment to myself as I try out new character builds that suck. Today's character is a Khajiit warrior that uses a two-handed weapon and heavy armor. Now I'm just going to disregard some of that at the bottom because no, I'm not going to level up alteration for my warrior character. Now let's generate a male Khajiit name real quick. Droidzo. Perfect. Not far from Riverwood lies an iconic site, Bleak Barrow, perched high above the town, like some kind of big flying beast sitting on top of the mountain. Wait, like a dragon? This ancient temple was built during the time of the dragon cult, a dark period in Skyrim's history when there was a cult that worshipped dragons. Not sure what you expected me to say, really. But seriously, at one point, dragons ran Skyrim with an iron fist, and their followers built a bunch of stuff. Anyway, Bleak Barrow is now basically a funeral home for the cult's members who worshipped the dragons back in the day. In fact, the cultists are still serving their masters, even in death, as Draugr. Now I hear you saying, but Shade, who are they serving if all the dragons are dead? The dragon priest, dumbass. You think a dragon could fit through that door? No. The dragon priests ran ancient Skyrim. They were imbued by their dragon overlords with a little bit of power, and they were the ones who actually did all the ruling on behalf of the dragons. I don't know what the real dragons were doing. I guess they were busy flying around and writing poetry or something. Anyway, occasionally the Draugr spring back to life in order to do menial tasks like relighting all the candles and making sure that half the paths in the dungeon are still blocked off by strategically placed debris. But what really makes Bleak Falls unique is its connection to the return of the dragons. Most of you watching probably remember finding the Dragonstone here, an artifact that details the locations of different dragon burial mounds across Skyrim. And some of you have already skipped through this part because God knows you've seen this dungeon about 9,000 times before. But for those of you who don't know, fetching the Dragonstone is the usual chore for any new playthrough. In fact, I've probably lost count of how many times I've been through this dungeon. I could probably do it blindfolded. And actually, this part I did do blindfolded. But what you may not have known is that the Dragon Cult created the Dragonstone after Alduin's defeat at the end of the Dragon War. Yeah, great names, guys. The cultists intended to safeguard it so that they might assist Alduin upon his prophesied return. This fancy rock tablet hints at the Dragon Cult's intricate knowledge of dragon resurrection, which is a threat that has kind of come to fruition now that Alduin's back in the picture. Cut down Arvel, alright. I actually scared that guy so bad that he went back into his sarcophagus. Let's just solve this puzzle real quick. And here we are in Bleak Barrow. Let's just kill the boss, and that was easy. I read some fancy words and then I returned the claw to Lucan, and then now we're going across the bridge. Alright, now that we got some loot, let's sell it to this totally normal man. Let's talk about the companions, a group whose roots stretch back to the founding of Skyrim. They trace their lineage to the 500 companions of Ysgramor, the legendary yet Moran leader who led his companions in the quest of Skyrim after the Night of Tears, which was the first great conflict between men and the Snow Elves. It's unclear who instigated the first attack, but either way the Snow Elves decimated the first human settlement, which was at Sarthal actually, which left only Ysgramor and his sons alive. So, Ysgramor popped back over to Atmora, rallied his warriors, and came back. Some might even say he went a little too far in some places because, well, you don't really see any snow elves anymore. That being said, the companions are still legendary in their conquests. More than just warriors, they were brothers in arms, bound by honor and courage, and racism. They were also empowered by the weapons of the Skyforge, which is this ancient forge right here. Even today, the forge still burns, producing the finest steel weapons and armor in Tamriel. So, when the 500 companions finished genociding all of the Snow Elves, some of them wandered over to what would be modern-day Whiterun, and upon seeing the giant eagle statue, some of the elven prisoners that the companions had taken became frightened, claiming that the Skyforge had been there before the elves even themselves had settled there. So naturally, the companions built a mead hall around it. They flipped their boat, called Jorvaskr, upside down, and they settled in the area, eventually creating the city of Whiterun. The elves speculated that the Skyforge might be an ancient relic from when Nirn was in its early stages of construction, maybe a tool to be used by the gods to create a paradise, before Lurkon came along and screwed that all up, that is. The companions today are not the army they once were. Over the centuries, they became mercenaries for hire, taking contracts from the people of Skyrim, though they say that they've lost the unity and purpose of their founder, and within their ranks also lies a dark secret. They're furries. There's the Skyforge. Here we are. The Coral Dragon Claw. The hardest puzzle in all of Skyrim, where they tell you the answer and you have to put that answer in the door. From the halls of Jorvaskr, we travel to the mysterious Barrow, sitting on the shore of the White River. This tomb holds the remnants of Ysgramor's oldest son, Yingol, who perished during the crossing from Atmora to Skyrim. Legend tells that Yingol was the greatest blacksmith that the Nords had ever known, and as Ysgramor and his sons sailed back to Atmora after the Night of Tears, Ysgramor wept from the loss of his people. Great ebony tears fell from his face, and Yingol collected these, wrapping his father in an embrace. Stricken with grief, Yingol put his father to bed and began his work. On the deck of the ship, he forged his father's mystical metallic tears, using lightning to eat the metal and quenching it from the spray of the sea. When Ysgramor awoke the next morning, Yingol had forged him a mighty axe, a weapon born from the very grief of his father. This axe was named Wuthrad, meaning storm's tears in the ancient language of Atmora. But sadly, Yingol's life would soon be cut short. Legend tells of a fierce storm that claimed Yingol's life as the 500 companions sailed back to Skyrim. Ysgramor, in his grief, slew rather specifically a dozen beasts in his son's honor. That's 144 beasts, I did the math. Yingol's remains were laid to rest near what would become Windhelm. Funnily enough, this is ultimately decided the placement of the city of Windhelm, as Ysgramor wanted to be able to see his son's resting place from his palace. Yingol's spirit is said to linger in the Barrow, and many adventurers have reported eerie lights guiding or warning those who enter. Yingol Barrow is a reminder of the price Ysgramor paid to establish a foothold in Skyrim, and it serves as a poignant counterpoint to the glory of the companions' victories. Now let's go beat Yingol's desiccated corpse. Alright, now let's kick Yingol's ass. We're gonna go ahead and use Bane of the Undead. I killed him with pure aura. So now Farkas and I are going to go on a different quest to a different dungeon. So there's basically no lore about Dustman's Cairn. And here we are in the dungeon. And here I'm going to go ahead and trap myself. And then we're going to go ahead and watch Farkas go beast mode. Fun fact, the Silverhand have basically no lore other than being generic bad guys in Skyrim. I think they were originally intended to be an offshoot of the Companions, but their lore just really never got developed. Kind of sad, really. And now that Farkas has demolished 10 people in the face of about 5 seconds, and we're just going to go ahead and loot the place, and basically that'll be the end of it for today. Thank you for joining me on this journey through Skyrim. If you enjoyed, don't forget to tell me your theories about the lore implications of Ysgramor's Soup Spoon. And as always, stay curious.